Hello, good afternoon. It's Midday Live from our studios here at Adesawe Kanda in Accra. My name is Efwa Tiku. The headlines this afternoon. Pressure mounts on Energy Minister to resign. We'll find out if the calls are justified. Pupils of Tion Basic School in the Timpani district battling poor infrastructure. Some use gallons as desks. And on the foreign front, South Sudan's government has reached a power-sharing agreement with the country's main rebel group. We have details of all these stories coming up in the next 1 hour. We're also live on DSTV channel 279 and also on all our social media platforms. That's on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram at TV3 Ghana. Now let's take a look at the stories. Now, any or group of persons who hunt or capture a game between August 1 and December 1, 2018 contravenes the Wildlife Convention regulations and is liable on summary conviction to a fine. That's Director of Wildlife Division of the Forestry Commission, Nana Kofi Edunsia, told TV3 the period is a statutory closed season for hunting and capturing of wildlife.
The 4 months closed season, which ends on December 1, is in line with the Wildlife Convention Regulations LI 685 of 1971. Closed season is a time of the year during which hunting any animal other than grasscutter is prohibited by law. The period is among the measures adopted to regulate utilization and to curb the decline of wildlife resource in the country. But why the need to protect the animal species?
We put this thing in place because it is the time to give respite to some of our nursing wildlife and then also young ones and those that are pregnant. If you go contrary to the law, what it states is that you will be prosecuted and then you can be fined or imprisoned or both.
This is not the first time a closed hunting season is being observed. How effective has it been over the years?
We still have elephants, good population of elephants in some of our parks. And if we were not having those restrictions, by now people might have killed all the elephants. Buffaloes will still have some population and even pangolins. So it means the law, even though I will not say it's 100% successful, it is in a way has contributed.
Nana Kofi Edunsia explained the benefits in protecting the wildlife and called for media support in educating the public.
If Ghanaians will continue to understand us and we all conserve our wildlife resources, then we will continue to have most of the species. Those that are even endangered, population will be building up and then we'll continue to have more in the country. So the media, I think you also have a very good role to play. We should not even wait for the close season alone. Every time we should continue to send the message to the people, let's protect our wildlife, which is our heritage.
He appealed to the public, particularly hunters, to temporarily stop their activities during the closed season and also be circumspect during the open season.
Now, the University Teachers Association of Ghana last month gave government up to July 31 to pay them their outstanding book and research allowances, or they will embark on an industrial action. The association said the government has been lackadaisical towards the payment of the allowance, despite UTAC's letter to the Finance Minister and the Education Minister on July 7 to effect payments by July 16 to forestall any industrial action by members. Now, we've been joined on the lines by Dr. Harry Agbanu, who is the UTAC president of the University of Ghana. Good afternoon to you, Mr. Agbanu.
Good afternoon.
Now, please briefly explain to us.
Well.
Thank you. Briefly explain to us what this research and book allowance is. Briefly.
Come again, madam.
Now, briefly explain to us what the research and book allowance is.
Yeah, it is part of the condition of university teachers in Ghana to receive annually some tokens for books and also for research. The book component of the allowance is $1,500 and the research component is 500 CDs. I want to emphasize is 500 CDs for the whole academic year.
And this is across the board for every university lecturer?
Every university lecturer, including our colleagues in polytechnics as well, now technical universities.
So is this...
Some other individuals in research institutions across the country.
Right. So is this a flat rate as to whether... Let me find out from you. So does every lecturer do this kind of research or write a book in a year?
We don't write books. In fact, we are supposed to be writing books. We are supposed to be doing research and be publishing, and if possible, even write books. But government gives us 500 CDs for that. But when it comes to the book component, we buy books. In fact, if you are dealing with graduate students, at the end of the day, it is your book, it is your materials that they use, because those books are not in stock in our country. So when lecturers travel, whilst others are shopping, buying perfumes, buying goodies for their family, what they come back with are books. So we buy a lot of books. We order books online. We go to shops to buy books for the benefit of our students.
Now, so you don't write these books, but you buy them, and that's what you use the allowance for. That's what you're saying.
Yes, we buy them. We buy the books. But and in addition to buying the books, we also publish in journals. And for you to publish in a high impact journal today, you pay almost $500 to $1,000 depending on the journal.
So when your members buy these books, then what is the process whereby you take these allowances? Do you, for instance, submit receipts of these books and researches that you do in order to get those allowances?
As I said, it's part of our condition of service. And so we submit no receipt to anybody. It's a negotiated allowances that are paid to lecturers. So if anybody sees somewhere wants to vary that, that person will have to come back to the negotiating table with lecturers to decide on the way forward. But as it is now, this is an allowance that has been in existence for almost 15 years now. So we don't see the reason why every now and every year lecturers will have to make noise, will have to virtually beg government to pay these allowances.
So, Mr. Agban, what you're saying is that your members, or you and your members, are open to sitting down with government to negotiate on the way forward for these, because it looks like for a very long time you have been having issues with government over these research and book allowances.
I mean, this should not have been the situation. We should not have been having problems with government at all, because government knows that these are negotiated, allowances, conditions of service. And so it should not, it's budgeted for every year. It's in the budget of government. And so it shouldn't be a problem paying these allowances at all. But if government feels that maybe the allowances are too small, it wants to increase it, we are open to negotiation with government.
And so what is the way forward now? So you gave a deadline for August 1 and it has expired. Have you heard from the Ministry of Education on this? Let me make it clear that the Ministry of Education is as disappointed as UTAG is, because the Ministry of Education has done everything humanly possible to get these monies paid. Finance that is misbehaving, so to speak. And so we have no issues with the Ministry of Education. So the way forward is that following failure of government to pay the allowances by the 31st of July, we have had emergency meetings on our campuses across the country. And what our members are saying is that the National Executive Committee should declare a strike. As a result, the National Executive Committee is meeting tomorrow at 4 o'clock at the University of Ghana for an emergency meeting to decide the way forward. Right, thank you very much. You are involved in an emergency meeting, that's tomorrow. Thank you very much, Dr. Harry Agban, who is the president of University Teachers Association of Ghana. Now, let's look at some more stories. Now, the controversy on the Ameri deal continues. Already, the management of Ameri Energy has stated that it had no discussions with government with regards to the power plants and the new deal with Mytilenius. Now, some energy experts and well-meaning Ghanaians have also said the new deal is a wrong move and called for the resignation of the energy minister, Boachi Ejakun. Others are calling on the president to name and shame persons involved in misleading him. The energy minister laid an agreement on the floor of parliament in July this year on a renegotiated Ameri deal, which was originally signed in February 2015. Now, the controversy on the Ameri deal continues, and already the management of Ameri Energy has stated that it had no discussions with government with regards to the power plants and the new deal with Mytilenius. Right, so let's take a look at how our power situation or our energy situation is looking at presently. And so we have some of here we do have the plants that are currently either in installation process or have been installed already, and these are their installed capacity and then the timing for which they are supposed to be completed. So if you take, for instance, Sen Power is giving us 360 megawatts and the completion time is 2018. So these are the plants that are supposed to be installed between 2018 and also 2017. So already we do have some of these plants in the system. And then if you look at the total of it, which is 2,476.5 megawatts, some experts are saying that this should be enough to power our energy needs. And so there are some concerns as to whether we do need the Ameri after all. So these are some of it. That's the T3. And these are also from VRA thermal generation project. So we have the T3, the KTPP, the T4 thermal plants, and their installed capacity totaling 632 megawatts. And those are the timings there, 2020, 2021, all up to 2026. So all these, the VRA and the others put together, are enough to give us our energy requirements, and some are even wondering why we do need this renegotiated deal after all. Now, I'm joined in the studio by a gentleman who will be telling us a bit more about the deal and if we even need it at all. Good afternoon to you, Midday Mohammed. Midday Mohammed is a research analyst with Institute of Energy Security. Now, Midday, what is the missing link here? Because this new renegotiated Ameri deal will just not go away. Now, Ameri is saying that they are not part of this renegotiated deal. Is there a possibility at all that you can actually, a deal could be renegotiated with one party saying that I'm not involved?
Well, when it comes to an innovated agreement, ideally, because you will not just be dealing with one party, eventually when you are innovated into the agreement, you are replacing a party who will be dealing with a direct party. There is the need to disclose to every party involved in the agreement the terms and conditions you are innovating and whether they agree to it. And I don't see how it is possible to innovate the agreement without the involvement of Ameri. And even if government was involved,
so you're saying Ameri is not being truthful here? Well,
the issue has become murkier. I have even cause to doubt some of the letters which has come out. One of them will either be false or otherwise, and people could, these days in the era of technology, anything can happen. But what is not in doubt is that government had engaged in an agreement to innovate a new party into the agreement. Right. Only that there has been a lot of back and forth. At IES, we don't have a problem with the approach government has taken in any way. Our problem from the very beginning has been the subject of costs. Right. And especially when you use the word renegotiation, review, we expect to move it from point A higher to a point B lower, so we can follow the discussion. Because especially if you consider the fact that the reason why you are entering into the negotiation in the first place is because the first cost is too high. So with Ameri's back and forth, I will have I don't know how the letter leaked and all that, But they are trying to complicate the things and draw it into the realm of politics.
Right. So now,
which,
you know,
this
Ameri deal from the very beginning, it was touted as a deal which was not really good.
Exactly.
And now we have another deal which is even worse off, as we are being told. Now, should we have just left the old deal to just run its course, or that we really needed to renegotiate a deal?
There was the need to renegotiate the deal.
And we could have had a better deal?
We could have had a better deal because, first and foremost, the necessities of the deal in 2015 are different. The contexts are different.
Right.
At the time, our back was on the wall. People were crying about doom, so there was a crisis that had to be solved. And you entered into an agreement with Ameri for that plant, $102 million cash flow annually for 5 years, $510 million. Now, you have just projected the 2,474 megawatts projected capacity between 2020 and 2027. That's expected to come. You have Senate coming, Sen Power coming, you have Amandi coming. Amandi is even not 2019, it's in December 2018.
And just hold on for me here. We've been joined on the phone lines by the chairman of the Energy Committee, Akwesi Jemfi. Good afternoon to you, Mr. Jemfi.
Good afternoon.
Can you tell us the status of the renegotiated Ameri deal in Parliament now?
Oh, okay. Thank you so much for this opportunity. And let me say good afternoon, cherished viewers and listeners. The controversy surrounding Ameri is known to everybody. And there was an agreement that was laid before Parliament was on the 16th. The agreement on the 7th, which was Friday in the morning. We invited the Minister for Energy.
Mr. Jemfi, we can hardly hear you in the studio. Can you speak up a bit?
Yes, I'm doing my best. But let me. What I'm saying is that yes, there is an agreement before Parliament, the Innovation and Amended Agreement, which was laid before Parliament, I think on the 25th of last month. The Committee on Mines and Energy and Finance sat on the agreement. We invited the Minister of Energy, VRA, Volta River Authority, PURC, to come and brief the committee on the new agreement. When we sat on the agreement, the committee requested for some documents. First, it was the Attorney General's opinion on the agreement. The second document we requested for was a consent letter from the Ministry of Finance.
Mr. Gens, we do know about your request asking that a value for money
yes.
audit and all. We do know
yes.
about what I'm asking is that in the view or in the wake of the Cabinet having said that the deal should be put on hold, what is its status in Parliament now?
You know, Parliament is on recess.
Right.
So before we rose, that is what I'm trying to recap so that viewers and listeners will understand where we are.
I'm sorry, we may not have all the time for that.
On the agreement, we requested for these documents, and you were waiting for the documents to be presented to the committee before we can proceed. We never got these documents. So what happened was that Parliament rose on the 28th. That was Saturday in the evening. So whenever we are called, the documents are ready, then the committee can take a decision on. So I can tell you this is the status of the Ameri agreement before Parliament.
Now, so if you're saying that if you are recalled, if Parliament is recalled on this deal, what would be the issue you'll be looking at?
The Cabinet asked this agreement to be put on hold. It's for the documents that we requested for to be made available. So when Parliament is called, I hope Parliament is going to go back around September, first week of September. By September, when we into Parliament, then you will take a decision. And let me just say that it is the government that brought the agreement. So if, for now, the executive or the president saying that you should put this
we seem to be having a very bad line there, but I think we got the gist of what Mr. Jakum was saying. He's the chairman of the Energy Committee in Parliament. Now, he's saying that before the Parliament rules, they asked for certain documents which were not in the original ones that were laid before Parliament. And so when they are called, then they would be looking at these documents. But Cabinet has said, let's put a hold on this. So obviously, these documents may actually be null and void.
Well, at IES, from the very beginning, we were aware of the demands that they needed the Attorney General's opinion on the deal. For example, they needed the PURC approval on the applicable tariff charges and the capacity charges and all that. And also, they needed a value for money analysis and all that. From where we sit, from what I have seen, there is no algorithm you impute in a value for money analysis that will vindicate this Ameri deal. Whatever they were waiting for, we independent of that. What we were saying, whether they brought the PURC deal and it validated it or not, whether the AG okays the deal or not, whether the finance minister okays it or not, it is a bad deal. Simple. So as to whether they are waiting for what authorizations from wherever for them to sit on the deal, it is a bad deal. It is not a deal they should be sitting on in the first place. It doesn't matter whether someone approves it or not. It is a very bad deal. Right. And you have rightly projected there. This data, I know, is from the VRA, authentic data. Right. They have shown that over the next 5 years, from 2020 to 2025, the Ameri Power Plant, based on their own economic dispatch analysis, not by IES, but by VRA, they have said that the Ameri Power Plant will be a contingency power plant. It's not going to be a power plant which will be available for running all truly, because we have enough capacity than we need. And the point I was making before his call came in was that our back was on the wall at the point we needed the power plants, but times have changed. Our priorities have also changed. Perhaps we need to free funds, the money we could give to Ameri in the name of the power plant for the next 2.5 years. Maybe if we innovate someone reasonably with a cost which is in line with what we can afford, what is with economic domestic wisdom, we can innovate anywhere in the agreement and free money to fund free SHS, for example, or other pressing government needs. So the rationale behind government's decision to innovate the agreement by bringing in a third party and offloading its liabilities is valid. Right. It is valid. But the way and manner they have gone about it is what we have a problem with. And as they have spoken about withdrawing the agreement, we are looking at the whole proceedings with cautious optimism, because we don't know whether it has been withdrawn for the tariffs to be readjusted to reflect the reasonable cost that we have raised questions about, or it has been withdrawn for government to engage Ameri on the original contract line by line, let's strike out some parts and beat down the costs, or whatever. We as at now, we can only be hopeful, but with caution, because you can't be sure of what is coming next.
Hopeful with caution. Thank you very much, Midday Mohammed. He's a research analyst with Institute of Energy Security. Now, this afternoon, we also want to know what your views are on this Ameri deal. Some are calling for the head of the Energy Minister, Boakye Jacko, to roll. Is that your view as well? Let's take a look.
Reports indicate that the president was misled into approving the renegotiated controversial new Ameri deal. Should the president name, shame, and sack whoever misled him? We find out today from Ghanaians on what do you think.
We could have listened to the number of Ghanaians that were also speaking against the deal. What should happen to those who misled him? They should be sanctioned.
I only think he should be sacked, because I don't know who is in charge. If the minister and he did it, he should be sacked. We are in a hurry to approve things because someone thinks they may get some commissions and other things somewhere. When we are thinking of going up to such deals, we must think about the interest of the entire country, at the end of the day, what it brings to the people. We must put that one before we actually go in signing any deal that has to do with the entire country.
For me, it was a shock. But then, to also hear that the president has taken a stance to put it on hold is also, I think, encouraging. That means that beyond just what his ministers are doing, he's also taking a critical look at the details. If there is no apology, if there is no resignation, then the president has to take an action.
Right, so you're watching Midday Live on TV3, and the Volta River Authority is expected to have a press conference on this Ameri deal pretty shortly. Our reporter Ebenezer Ejekum is there and will be joining us currently to give us the details of that. The Volta River Authority, who have been against the renegotiated deal for all this while, is having a press conference, and Ebenezer is joining us pretty shortly with the details.
Who is an engineer at the Volta River Authority. He is a member of the Senior Staff Association, and we'll be talking to him on the new Ameri deal and why VRA is kicking against the deal. Engineer here, good afternoon and welcome to TV3.
Good afternoon.
In the first place, why VRA kicking against the Ameri deal?
Well, VRA's staff group are kicking against this deal because we think that it's not going to help in our financial cash flow going forward into the future. As you are aware, this deal was signed in the year 2015, February specifically, and it started commercial operation in 2016, that was February. And you know what happened in this country. Everybody was complaining that the deal was so high, but we have managed that deal to today. It's put some financial burden on VRA. VRA has been able to manage it till this time. We've done 2.5 years. We are left with 2.5 years to go to the end of the deal. Currently, PURC gave a tariff of 14.41 cents per kilowatt hour for the 15 years period. When the MPP government came into power, you realize that in March this year, tariff was reduced, and in effect, the Ameri tariff, which was 14.4, had been reduced to 12.7, and we have 2.5 years to go to complete this transaction. Now, the minister has taken another innovation amendment to Parliament to review this contract and give it to a different company.
Engineer here, and the government is saying, or the Ministry of Energy is saying, this new deal is going to save the country some $400 million.
To be soft, it's untrue. It's not going to save the country $405 million. At the end of the 15 years, we are rather going to end up paying close to $1 billion to this new company, because the current contract has only 2.5 years to run, and we are going to run this one for 15 years. PURC tariffs dropped the tariff from 14 to 10 by 2021. And if we are going for 11 from now to the next 15 years, and in the 6th year, in the original contract, the capacity charges will drop to 0. So why should we continue to pay capacity charges after the 6th year to 15 years?
The issue now is the VRA's capacity to run Ameri plant. Can the VRA do that?
In the history of this country, VRA is the first company to run thermal plants in this country. VRA is the first company to introduce thermal generation into this country. And VRA has been running aeroderivative engines since 2007. We have a station in Tema. We ran the mines reserve plant that was bought for VRA by the mines when we went to the 2006-2007 energy crisis. And we've run it to the point of decommissioning. Currently, we have 138 megawatt aeroderivative engines in Tema, where VRA has been running it, and we have even expanded it. So VRA is more than efficient to run Ameri plant. Currently, VRA is even providing supervisory services to the Ameri plant. So where is the issue that VRA cannot run aeroderivative engines? We are the first to even introduce it. You remember during President Kufuor's time, they even brought these diesel engines. Who ran it? It's VRA. VRA ran all these engines to sustain the power crisis in this country. So it's stabilized. So the hue and cry by people that, VRA cannot do it, that's why we are extending it. It's not. It's just to throw dust into the eyes of people, then we can pay more money. But it is not good for this economy. It is not good for our country. Consumers will end up paying more when we have to rather receive lower tariffs going forward.
Okay, I've been speaking to Theophilus Tete Ahia. He is the vice chairman of the Senior Staff Association of the Volta River Authority, and they are kicking against the new.
So there we have it, Ebenezer Jokum with the VRA, which is having a press conference on the Ameri deal. Now you're watching Midday Live on TV3. Now let's look at our MTN video report today as our citizen journalist Nuri Philip highlights the army worm infestation at Bogatanga in the Upper East region.
The Honorable Minister of Agriculture declared a total defeat of army worms some months ago, I am still worried that these destructive army worms has resurfaced in the Upper East region. This is a demonstration backyard garden for my father's study. But soon, this garden would no longer exist because the army worms have started eating everything. I believe that bigger farms are suffering still. Please, government must act, else there would be food crisis. For TV3 News, I am Nura Philip Akelesori, reporting from the central of Bolgatanga. Be a citizen, but not a spectator.
Well, thank you very much, Philip, for that report. And you can also send your reports via our WhatsApp platform. That's 05514033033. That's 05514333044. You're watching Midday Live on TV3. Stay tuned. We'll be back shortly. You're welcome back to Midday Live on TV3. Now to one of our top stories this afternoon. Pupils of Tiong Basic School in the Timpani district of the Northern region are battling poor infrastructure. Stanley Blue reports the children do not only study in dilapidated classrooms, they use gallons as desks.
Teaching and learning under very difficult conditions.
The envelope is the glass. A is under the glass.
The Tiong Primary School serves 5 other communities with a population of over 200. The school feeding program has enhanced enrollment.
They were not coming. Let's say last time like this, the KG2, they were not up to 10. The KG1, 2, they were not up to 10. All these grown-ups sitting here, they were not attending school. But when they started cooking, they have to come to school. And some of them, they will even come, the parents will not even follow them to come and write their names.
But teaching and learning has not seen improvement.
Being in this class as a teacher self is very difficult, but sometimes you are a professional teacher, so you need to do what will help the children.
Buildings are weak, rains have washed away portions, endangering lives of pupils. Kindergarten 1 and 2 are taught under trees and they learn to write on the floor. Furniture is a challenge too. Classes 1, 2 and 3 have no desks. Pupils are the losers. Being innovative, pupils of lower primary use gallons.
That is what they use in support of writing their papers. You know, there is no a single dual desk here they can sit on and then write. So sometimes some will use the paper and put on their laps. Some will use gallons in support as a table.
Upper primary has some desks, though inadequate. Teachers have asked for help.
I use the desks like first come, first serve, because the total population in my class is high, but the chairs are not also up.
Textbooks are a challenge.
We have to go to different schools, our nearby schools, to borrow those books and come and make learning effective.
The district assembly is, however, working at addressing education challenges.
The issue of Tiong has been brought to our attention. I think the estimates are with my coordinating director. Why we haven't expedited we have not taken very swift action on it is because we have been waiting for some transfer that from which we will let the contractor at least give us 3 classrooms for the start. In fact, before the rain set in, we were thinking of doing a pavilion. But upon the advice of my team, we said that it was better that we do it in the best of shape so that we don't go back another time to do it. I think our attention also has been drawn to that school from the Education Directorate. It is for that reason that I had to even use some bit of lobbying to ensure that that school gets school feeding so that we keep the school children together pending government's activity or government's action to get them a befitting classroom for their studies.
The Assembly says it will need more support to develop education in the area.
It's in the glass.
See. Business News is up next.
The Business News segment is brought to you by MTN, Universal Merchant Bank.
Now, customers continue to troop to the First Allied Savings and Loans to try to withdraw their monies following the ANAS expose, which cited former GFA President Kwesi Nyantakyi as having laundered money into the Fountain Savings and Loans, FSL, which coincidentally has the same initials as the First Allied Savings and Loans, FSL. Our reporter in Takoradi, Irama Smith, has been to the facility and filed this report.
It's about 11 a.m. Monday morning. I am at the Takoradi branch of the First Allied Savings and Loans, and you may have heard about their challenges with liquidity. What is happening this Monday morning is that things are quite better for them because they have a few people coming in to deposit money. I entered the banking hall and I could count about 15 people as compared to just the 2 that I counted last Friday. Though most of those who are in there are coming to withdraw money, and they are not going to get what they actually want to withdraw. So the coming days will see what the mother bank intends to do about this situation. Meanwhile, customers will just have to wait and pray and hope that they will be able to withdraw their monies. Reporting from Takoradi, I am Irama Smith for TV3 News.
Now back here in Accra, banks and specialized deposit-taking institutes, that SDIs, that fail to comply with the central bank's anti-money laundering regulations risk paying as much as 60,000 cedis in fines beginning this month. This follows the implementation of the Bank of Ghana's laws on anti-money laundering.
In all, 19 lapses and their corresponding fines have been outlined by the Bank of Ghana. The fines for some offences, however, differ from banks to specialized deposit-taking institutions. They range from 2,000 to 5,000 penalty units, with each penalty unit being equivalent to 12 cedis. But the highest of 5,000 penalty units is applicable to both institutions. For instance, as a bank or SDI, you'll be made to pay as much as 60,000 cedis if you, amongst others, fail to submit and implement employee education and training program, fail to report unusual and complex, large or suspicious transactions, or conduct business with shell banks. Also, a bank which fails to develop and implement internal rules and policies, internal risk assessment framework, as well as fail to appoint an anti-money laundering reporting officer at management level, will be liable to 4,000 penalty units equivalent to 48,000 cedis. Meanwhile, both a bank and specialized deposit-taking institution will be made to pay a fine of 2,000 penalty units or 24,000 cedis if they fail to conduct effective customer due diligence, while the bank is liable to 60,000 cedis for failing to submit and implement employee education and training program. A specialized deposit-taking institution which fails to screen when hiring new employees and not making anti-money laundering or combating financial terrorism performance part of employee annual appraisals will be liable to 24,000 cedis in fine.
And that's it for business this afternoon. And after this break, we have sports with Nana Kojo Afre. Our popular Ghanaian celebrity photographers twins Donbeg, known in real life as Samuel Apiajan and Emmanuel Apiajan, say they are ready to represent Ghana when it comes to photography.
Samuel graduated with a degree in post-harvest technology, while Emmanuel graduated in landscape architecture from the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. But the twins gave up on their certificate and decided to take up photography alongside blogging. They established a name for themselves by choosing the catchy brand name Twins Donbeg, which is easy to use to win clients. The initial brand name, Twins Donbeg, blew them up on campus. They then added Swag of Africa, which became the official brand name for their photo works. Swag of Africa is now the official photographer for the President of the Republic of Ghana, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, and also the official social media manager for the Second Lady, Mrs. Samira Bawumia. Twins Donbeg disclosed how ready they are to represent Ghana in photography.
By 5 years' time, we should be working with brands like BET, Grammys, and all that. We've already started. This year we were supposed to go for BET, but the invitation came in late, so we couldn't. It was too much of a short notice. We've been to UK, in Nigeria, in Dubai. I think we want to be seen as global brands and represent Ghana on the biggest level in terms of photography and all that.
The twins gave advice to upcoming photographers.
Photography is just about you and your brand and your identity. And the simple advice I'll give them is that you have to know what you stand for, and you have to always make sure that you are consistent in your brand. And just be humble. Don't hate on other photographers. If someone's work is good, you have to say it. And if someone's work is bad, you just have to keep quiet and probably just give an advice. You don't have to just be sitting around judging other people's work. And if you think you are good in your room.
And that's all for Midday Live today. My name is Efua Tieku. For more news, do go to 3news.com. Have a good afternoon.